Now, despite starting 9th on the grid, Max Verstappen cruised to a comfortable victory in the Miami Grand Prix. Verstappen ran the hards until lap 45, his pace remaining impressive throughout, and he emerged from his pit stop only 1.5 seconds behind Perez. On a much fresher tyre and a softer compound, Verstappen quickly hunted down his teammate to overtake and come home 5 seconds clear to open up a 14-point lead in the Drivers' Championship. After the race, he was asked if his Miami win makes him feel far more comfortable in the title chase with Perez, the Dutchman's third win of 2023, responding to Perez's increasing pressure in the Drivers' Championship. "I always feel unbeatable, but sometimes other people also have a really good day and they can be close to you or match you and be ahead," he told Sky F1. "But I think what's important is you try and be close to 100% perfect every single time. Yesterday wasn't perfect, so overall this weekend wasn't perfect, but it's a long season and I try to always be as close as possible to perfection." With the head-to-head against Perez coming down to a tyre longevity battle, an area in which Perez is widely regarded as strong by pundits, Verstappen admitted he's still surprised that others see him as being tougher on the tyres than his teammate. "I mean, people say that, but I never really understood why. I think I've always been very good on tyres, but it's very small margins, you know. But I think this has already been effective the last few years, where you look after your tyres well, and in some races that works out a bit better than others." Verstappen, now 14 points ahead of his title rival, reflected on his tyre strategy, saying it was a case of trying to gauge tyre life through each stint, having run to lap 45 while attempting to maintain and extend his lead over Perez. Perez was unable to hold off Verstappen in the final stages of the Miami race, and he later emphasized the key timing that he believes cost him the race when he discovered that the medium tyre proved unexpectedly poor, a critical phase of the race as Verstappen made good progress on the hards. "I think the medium initially was really poor, it was unexpected," Checo said. "I think that really compromised our pace, and I think also Max had tremendous pace on the hard tyre, and I think I'm going to analyse what went wrong today because we simply didn't have the pace." Perez made a good defensive effort in the end, but he was undone by his own lack of speed. With the RB19 in his hands and 8 cars between them on the grid, there's no reason for Perez to be caught and passed, especially if he intends to fight for the title and consider himself a threat to Verstappen on most weekends. Perez simply wasn't quick enough, and he didn't look it all weekend. The qualifying event simply set him up for a fall. Verstappen's flawless start only added to the sense that it was inevitable. He wasted no time getting through the pack on the hards, and everything went smoothly for him. Perez's peaks, Jeddah and Baku, aren't the issue. Failing to win a race from pole when Verstappen starts 9th is the kind of performance deficit that will wipe out his championship hopes. Verstappen's rise from 9th to 1st place in the race was not entirely unexpected. 15th to 2nd in Jeddah and 14th to 1st in Spa last year hinted at what was to come. But it was the ease with which Verstappen was leaving everyone else standing in the sessions prior to his Q3 hiccup that made his lead over the rest of the field, including Perez, appear somewhat ridiculous. In practice, it seemed like every time someone got close to Verstappen, he'd just come out and smash them all by half a second again. And it wasn't even Perez who was getting close to the majority of the time. That speed, combined with the knowledge that Red Bull has an advantage that allows it to easily overtake, rendered the grid position largely irrelevant. Another thing that demonstrated how little Verstappen had to exert himself to win this race was his reaction to starting 9th on the grid. He expressed disappointment and frustration with himself after qualifying, but his tone and expression didn't reflect this. This was a minor annoyance, and being 9th on the grid with your championship contender on pole should be more than that. But for Perez, nothing makes it clearer that the championship is all but lost than the rhetoric from his own team. Team boss Christian Horner has been constantly criticising his lack of speed on proper circuits, pointing to his track record on non-street circuits. Then, following the Miami defeat, Red Bull's motorsport advisor, Helmut Marko, made certain to put Perez in his place. In a recent interview, Marko explained that while the Mexican driver has improved significantly, Verstappen has always been the clear favourite between the two. I can understand everyone's expectations, and we've highlighted how Checo has come a long way since the start of the year. But for me, it's always clear that Max was the big favourite between the two. On some street circuits, like in Jeddah and Baku, Checo is really strong. But I think Max taught everyone in Miami, Checo included, a lesson. Nobody can copy the way he has managed his tyres in such a way that it's always possible to achieve the fastest lap at the end of the Grand Prix. And imagine what the gaps would have been like if Max had started from pole. Max, as we all know, is capable of setting incredible times in extreme situations, which very few drivers can do. And in Miami, he again showed his potential in terms of tyre management, which allowed him to set the fastest lap on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. A 1 minute and 29.708 seconds with worn tyres, an incredible time. However, not everything is lost for Perez. Don't get us wrong, beating Max Verstappen in a one-on-one battle is a monumental task, even for the best drivers, just ask Lewis Hamilton. But where Perez fails is frequently due to specific and clearly visible areas. That means there's no voodoo for the Mexican to figure out, with obvious places for improvement that could point him in the right direction for a title bid. That was evident in Miami. The first sector of the circuit, which has 8 turns, is mostly made up of high-speed sweepers. Verstappen had an advantage in that area of the track, according to Horner, which is what allowed him to outrace Perez and win. It's just purely Sector 1, I think turns 3, 4, 5 and 6, said Horner when asked where Verstappen had the advantage. Max was outstanding in that sector, and I think the rest of the lap was much of a muchness, but Sector 1 was where Max was really doing a lot of damage. I think it's the way that the sequence of corners flows. It's hard to pinpoint any particular area of consistency. I think that Max was on fire through that sector all weekend, but it will vary from circuit to circuit. So it's as simple as figuring out what Verstappen did differently in the first sector, applying that to the next races, and profit. Yes, it's easier said than done, but it's far better than if the Dutchman had a small advantage in every corner that added up to his dominance. In that case, Perez would be truly lost. But aside from just getting better at driving fast, is there anything Checo could do to shake up things at Red Bull? And some say yes. Back in 2016, Rosberg was up against Lewis Hamilton for the world title. The German adamant it would be his season after Hamilton won in 2014 and again in 2015. The teammate battle was a headache for the Mercedes team bosses, with Toto Wolff and Niki Lauda threatening to fire them after their clash at the Spanish Grand Prix. The season ended with Rosberg and Hamilton not speaking to one another, but Rosberg had achieved his dream of winning the World Championship. Perez is in a similar situation this season, attempting to dethrone his double World Championship winning teammate, with the two separated by 14 points after 5 races. And F1 presenter Johnny Herbert has told the Mexican driver to rock the boat if he wants to win. If it's your only chance, a bit like Nico, he told Express Sport, all the little things he did during his time with Lewis. He wasn't popular within the team, and his relationship with Toto, I believe, wasn't very good, but he got that trophy on his mantelpiece. You can't control that. If it's your only shot, you'll do anything to get that trophy on your mantelpiece. If you get thrown out at the end of that season, that trophy is on the mantelpiece. In Rosberg's case, it should be noted that he was not thrown out. Rather, he surprised Wolff and Lauda by announcing his retirement after the season finale. It's been suggested, however, that if Perez causes too much uproar, he may be demoted and reserve driver Daniel Ricciardo promoted in his place. But given that Verstappen showed killer instinct to take the fastest lap point away from Perez despite being given a delta time by Red Bull, some believe Perez needs to show his teeth a little more as well. But what are your thoughts? Let us know down below. Thanks for watching, make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. We'll see you later.